When it comes to leptin, most people just think about weight loss. But did you know leptin is a master circadian signaling hormone that actually tells your sex hormones what to do? Stay tuned to this episode to learn more. Welcome back. My name is Sarah. I am going to be broadcasting this on the Evolving Wellness podcast, as well as my YouTube channel, the Sarah Kleiner Wellness YouTube channel. So wherever you are listening, thank you so much for being here. This is actually a live stream that I did with my partner, Carrie Bennett, all about leptin and your hormones, specifically leptin and fertility. Now, if you're familiar with my story, you know that I spent over $100,000 on functional medicine as well as allopathic medicine to try to get my hormones balanced enough to have a healthy pregnancy in my 40s. Unfortunately, it was a big, huge waste of time and money to do those things between the supplements, the blood testing, the urine testing, all the testing that I did was fruitless. And understanding leptin and the way that leptin works with the hormonal system of the body was actually what allowed me to conceive without IVF at age 42 and have a healthy baby boy at age 43. So I'm really passionate about continuing to share this message about leptin and our hormones because so many people, men and women especially, struggle with hormonal balance, especially after they get over the age of 35. Now, the thing is, as I've started spreading this message about leptin, I get women in their 20s and younger who have conditions like PCOS, which are affected greatly by leptin. So this conversation is going to apply to you if you are in that group, if you're in perimenopause, and if you're in menopause, because leptin will continue to influence your hormones even if you do not have a monthly cycle. So this is a conversation for everyone, and it is also a very important conversation for any of my people trying to conceive right now. Anyone trying to conceive really should pay attention to this information. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing the stream in a moment here, but I also want to let you know that Carrie Bennett and I are offering our third cohort of Quantum Fertility. It is a 6-week intensive course where we have a call with you every single week. And these lessons, and this is open to practitioners as well, to help people who are trying to conceive to heal their mitochondria, to go to this base level of leptin, mitochondria, understanding how these hormones affect our fertility and then how to create a positive change with these hormones. So if you're interested in that, there's going to be a link down in the show notes for you. And today, the day that I'm putting this out, is also the last day if you're interested in getting my quantum nutrition program at its lower 25% off price. Midnight tonight, Saturday, March 18th. This is going to expire and then it's going to go to regular price. So 2 things to take note of in the show notes. If you're interested in those, make sure you check those out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right on into this live stream. Thank you so much for listening. Hello, welcome everyone. My friend Carrie Bennett and I today are going to talk about how leptin actually influences your hormones. I think that we talk so much about insulin, or we really get narrow-mindedly focused on let's improve our progesterone levels, let's improve testosterone levels, we kind of look at our hormones in this ancillary way. Hi, Linda. Carrie just requested to join. There she is. About how our hormones actually work when we are looking at it from the lens of leptin. Let's make sure I added her. And there she is. Hi.
Sarah, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
I'm good. I was downstairs for a little while getting work done, and when I went outside this morning, it was cloudy, and now it's gorgeously sunny. So, like, I'm outside this afternoon. Here we go.
Very nice. Yeah, it's cold here, but it's sunny, so I'll take it.
Yeah. I know. I feel like I'm gonna hang in there. It's fine, right? This is the hardest, like, I've self-admit this is the hardest time of year for me in northern latitudes, because it's like I've done my cold, I get it, right? I embrace the cold, I embrace the dark. Give me spring, please. I'd like to go barefoot without, freezing here. So that'd be lovely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, it's coming soon-ish.
Something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited to chat with you today. We talk so much about hormones. And first of all, before we dive into this topic, Carrie and I are running our fertility course again. This is going to be our third cohort, open to practitioners as well as people trying to conceive. It's going to start April the 24th. But today we're opening registration with an early bird special, and there's a link in her bio and a link in my bio if you want to get more information on that. And leptin is one of the foundations that we really work on within the framework of the course, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's underrated. I don't think people even realize the importance of leptin. And so it's cool to be able to educate people to understand what the heck is leptin and what the heck does it have to do with my hormones, my cycles, my hormone balance, my ability to conceive. So it's a cool topic, right? Because I think it's really important.
Yeah. And it's been cool. Our last cohort, we just wrapped it up, and we had, I think, a few doctors, maybe 4, I think, and maybe more than that, 4 different doctors that work with people trying to conceive. So it was really cool to talk with them about this, because most practitioners, if someone is struggling with any sort of a hormone balance issue, they don't typically check for leptin. They'll say, well, have you, a good doctor will say, let's have you come in on this day for estrogen, on this day for testosterone, on this day for progesterone. You kind of, look at those, or do a Dutch test, right? To do those hormone tests, a good practitioner. But rarely does a practitioner say, let's back out of this whole entire picture and look at your leptin levels, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is this myopic focus in fertility support, in terms of this hormone number is a little off. Let's supplement or medicate to support that hormone, or all throughout the cycle, right? And we don't view it that way, right? We're like, wait a second, what's in charge? Let's go above that, take me to the CEO. Like, yes. What's in charge of the show? And one of the main things that's in charge of the show is, number one, your body needs to recognize how much stored energy it has on it in order to be able to say, oh yeah, Carrie's got enough stored body fat in order to go through the energy demands of growing a baby, right? If, my body's not going to optimize fertility if it doesn't know that information. And it's leptin that really signals and determines that, or gives that information to my brain, if you will. And so if we're not optimizing leptin, we're potentially missing out on a huge signaling mechanism just to simply give my body an idea of the amount of stored fat I have, so it knows if it's in a safe time or safe space to be able to make a baby.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say, we need to back out of these paradigms we have around hormones and supplementing kind of ancillary things, and not to knock some of these supplements, because I think they can be helpful for in situations, but instead of trying to microdose or supplement these different things, we need to look at our master hormones, right? Leptin, cortisol, pregnenolone. Like those we have to look at, because those are going to affect all the downstream hormones, as well as the thyroid, right? Because thyroid is essential for fertility as well as hormone balance. From everything from fertility to weight loss to, hormone balance, all of that stuff, leptin is kind of up here at the top, right?
Yeah, leptin's at the top, absolutely. And what's fascinating is that all of them rely on circadian rhythm.
Yes.
And so, right, that's very much a missing factor in all of this. We have to recognize that the human body is very, very organized. It's very, very, it's super complex. So if it's trying to do everything all the time, that's not efficient, right? That's not an efficient use of time or energy. So it relies on knowing the time of day to say, oh, now's the time to make pregnenolone. Oh, now's the time to get a bigger surge of TSH. Now's the time for free T3, free T4. And I don't think people realize that our hormones have those daily fluctuations, and that ties into either the light that we have entering our eyes or the darkness that we're supposed to experience at night when we're sleeping. And so step one, right, is circadian rhythm for all of us, including leptin signaling, because that really is very much a circadian hormone as well.
Yeah. And melatonin is so key, you know, not supplementing melatonin. It's completely different than the type of melatonin that your body makes, right? That is a key thing for hormone balance and fertility optimization too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think melatonin is key, but I think a huge factor that we're seeing these days, the reason why there is so much hormone imbalance is because of exposure to artificial light at night. It contains a massive amount of blue light, which would only be present in that quantity and that brightness during the middle of the afternoon, or like in the beginning of the day, actually, like when the sun really starts to rise and get really bright into the sky. And it just so happens that if we get that signaling through natural sunlight, it corresponds with a surge in pregnenolone. That can become cortisol. It can become our sex hormones, right? And we can optimize fertility based on where we are in a monthly cycle. Now, what happens then when I'm not supposed to get that light into my eyes at night, and instead I'm supposed to get melatonin in and really start to go through regeneration at night? What happens though, all of a sudden, when I get another surge of this blue light? Well, that's the signals to the brain, basically, you started the day again. Let's surge those hormones again. Let's get cortisol elevated. Let's get pregnenolone elevated again. And that is going to create hormone imbalances that you see with things like estrogen dominance. You're going to see challenges when you elevate cortisol like that with things that people deal with. You know, they might call it pregnenolone steal for something like adrenal fatigue, where cortisol gets elevated. And a lot of it really has to do with the light that we're either allowing into our eyes or we're not blocking at night.
Exactly. So I love what you said about blue light, because our bodies are, and that suprachiasmatic nucleus is getting that information from the blue light in the sky, and it starts in the morning and it varies throughout the day. So that blue light in the sky, we're supposed to be getting it from the sky, again, is informing those hormonal systems in the body to release specific hormones at specific times, as well as, you know, get that information that your body is safe, you're in a good place.
Yeah.
You can have balanced hormones, which again will lead to optimal fertility. And so when we're getting the amount of blue light that we would be getting like in the morning or the middle of the day, in the evening, we're giving ourselves this really, really, really confusing signal. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Timing is off, right?
Yeah.
So picture any circumstance where timing is key, right? Back in the day, I used to do ice skating shows. And it was like, you know, I was a little kid, right? I don't know, probably 9-year-old. And there was 100 kids on the ice at once. And we would be like literally crossing, right? And like one after the other, and like we'd be interweaving, and imagine if the timing is off. And it was in practice quite a bit. What happens when the timing is off? It's called a disaster. Everyone falls on their butt, right? You know, doesn't look pretty. When the timing is off in the body, it creates a very similar type of chaos in that, wait a second, what am I supposed to be doing now? Oh, wait, I thought I was supposed to be really optimizing my regeneration pathways, right? My melatonin, my human growth hormone, but no, it's the middle of the afternoon. We gotta go back to so it just creates chaos, and chaos is not a beneficial situation if we're looking to become pregnant.
Right. And inflammation is a huge issue in becoming pregnant. Absolutely. And having balanced hormones, you know, endometriosis, adenomyosis, even PCOS. These things are inflammation issues, essentially, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's inflammation issues, and it's oftentimes inflammation issues driven by imbalanced hormone secretions, right? You know, but it all really stems from a timing miscuing, and the body is just trying to sort things out. And in the process of sorting things out, if it's getting the wrong information, you're potentially going to get the wrong hormones released, and you're going to drive up inflammation as opposed to allowing the body to recover and heal.
Exactly. So things that we talk about in our program, number one, week one is like optimizing your circadian environment. And this can go because if your circadian environment is not optimized, then leptin doesn't have that chance to dock at the hypothalamus when we're sleeping. And that's, again, when we just talked about PCOS, having leptin resistance is usually going to be a precursor to something like PCOS, right? So someone that struggles with PCOS is more than likely leptin resistant in some way, shape, or form. So if we're not having that optimal leptin signaling at night, we're going to have some sort of a hormonal imbalance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So leptin and insulin dock in the same part of the hypothalamus, right? So the hypothalamus is the part in our brain that, you know, it's, if you've ever heard of the HPA axis or these axes of communication, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal or hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, the hypothalamus really kicks things off quite a bit, and it needs information to be able to kick off the right pathways at the right time. And so if we have insulin resistance, leptin is not able to do its docking. And what actually we see a lot of times in clinical practice and in the research is that one is leptin resistant first. So leptin resistance actually is the precursor to insulin resistance. And we see that being a challenge then in things like PCOS, in things like even things like type 2 diabetes, obesity. There's some level of leptin not creating the right signaling. And it's also on the, or being able to dock appropriately and signal. And it goes onto a different extreme as well too, right? Like sometimes there is obesity at play, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes leptin signaling is off because we've been doing things that are chronically stressful to our bodies, like excessive amounts of fasting. You know, again, it's well-intentioned, right? We want our eggs to be healthy. We want to go through autophagy, and we hear that we got to fast, fast, fast. And while there is good intention behind that, that oftentimes can lead to very, very low leptin levels. And that also isn't going to be ideal for signaling leptin into the brain. So yeah, leptin is key. I love talking about it. And you want to know what, I do want to highlight this. While week one is light, I'm talking about our light environment, even before that, we talk about mindset.
Mindset, yes. Yeah, we just switched that for this next cohort because that's so huge. I think when people are struggling with any sort of a health challenge, is what's the programming that's going in. And you know, we talk extensively about, you know, light and water and electron flow and mitochondrial health, and how do you improve your mitochondrial health, because that is so incredibly tied to our hormone balance and to our fertility, right? But if we have this improper programming going on in the head that's like, you know, this is never going to happen, and you know, this is wrong for me, and what can happen with our mitochondria, right? So our thoughts have the ability to influence the mitochondria as well.
Oh, absolutely right. And so I mean, that's exactly it. Oftentimes when we're in a state of, I'm trying to conceive, I want to conceive, or I've had recurrent miscarriages, which is devastating, right? Or just any chronic health journey, there sometimes we get into this mindset sometimes of like, it's too hard to overcome, or I'm afraid to try something else, or I don't want this to fail again. And that mindset in and of itself can set the mitochondria up for not being as healthy, because stress, mental stress by itself, can lower mitochondrial function. And so what we try to do is we try to coach the fact that mindset is supportive of not only some of the quantum woo, which really isn't woo, that we talk about in terms of creating your own reality and influencing, right, your own reality and what you want to see happen, but it influences the mitochondria that are directly responsible for making things like pregnenolone, right? Which will kick off the whole steroid hormone cascade in the morning to give you that hormone balance. So it's really important. And mindset used to be something we talked about at the end. We thought, because we think it's important, but we flipped it to the beginning because we realized it is so key in terms of really getting off to the right start in supporting your health journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, I think you sent me a study that showed, what was it, like a 30%
That one I think was 15 to 20%.
Okay.
But there is, yeah, in terms of a decrease in mitochondrial function from stress alone. But I think there was one that also showed up to a 30% decrease in mitochondrial function from mental stress, right? When one goes to bed with a mental stressor, it can lower mitochondrial efficiency the next day, mitochondrial health the next day. So mindset is powerful. It really is.
It is. It's huge. And, you know, just for people out there that are watching that maybe you're not struggling with fertility, maybe it's just hormone balance or just your health in general, all these same principles really apply. And when I was really going through the heat of things for my struggle with fertility, my fertility journey, that was one thing that I really had to shift and change. You know, it was actually Rudy, who owns Viva Rays. We always have these deep esoteric conversations whenever we talk. And he said, you know, and I just told him what was going on. I said, I've changed all this stuff. And he said, you know, you really, really need to shift the mindset. Like that's what's going on. And when you're meditating or when you're praying, you need to feel this emotion as though it's already happened, as though you're already holding your baby. And that's what I started to do, even though I had multiple miscarriages and failed IVF. And I was kind of like at the point where a lot of people would just kind of give up. I started that mindset work and I started imagining like holding my baby and feeling as though he was there already and those emotions. And, you know, then it actually happened. So I think it's so important in these health journeys that we go on that we have to feel as though we're well, right? We have to start putting our bodies and our minds in that space, even though we haven't necessarily achieved that goal just yet.
Absolutely right. And there is a balance between, I know you've referred to this in our program before as spiritual bypassing, versus truly recognizing the power of the mind in the ability to help your body create what it's at, like what it wants, right? There's a reason the placebo effect happens, right? There is a reason why clinical trials need to control for placebo effect. And that placebo effect is huge because of the power of the mind alone in being able to directly influence our physiology. And so, mindset is key. And it's really going to be exciting to see even now this next group of people using it from the start, right? To even see what happens with that, the results that we get.
Absolutely. And it all really goes together, you know.
It absolutely does.
It's so important. So, you know, I think that this conversation is really key. Again, we want to talk to people who are maybe struggling with fertility, and Carrie and our course is going to start on April 24th. It's our third one. It's for practitioners and people trying to conceive. And there's a link in her bio and a link in my bio, but just an overall conversation about leptin. I think we need to continue to raise awareness of this for people, again, struggling with hormonal issues, but also practitioners that are working with people to maybe start looking at leptin levels rather than just kind of myopically focusing on one specific hormone, right? Because I've had a lot of people that have tried things like DHEA supplementation. That's a big one because that's big for egg quality, right? And if you, when you're really, really stressed out, guess what tanks a lot of the time?
Absolutely.
DHEA, progesterone, testosterone for women especially, and men too. But those hormones tend to really, really tank, and just exogenously supplementing those.
Oh, yeah. I've never shared this part about my journey is that when I was going through my adrenal fatigue, right, which I now recognize was a horrible circadian dysfunction, my DHEA was bottomed out, right? And I tried to I worked with a practitioner who tried to help me through supplementation of that, and nothing changed my body, my mind, my energy, my hormone balance, like the circadian protocols we teach, like the nutrition strategies that we teach. And I'm not talking about like we're dogmatic about, you have to eat keto the rest of your life. No, it's okay. why we want you to eat a breakfast, right? What's the importance of that, and what that does to these signaling pathways, how that helps your brain recognize its nutrient and its fat content, which is a good thing, right? How it can recognize that you're in a period of food plenty as opposed to food scarcity. So again, it optimizes your hormone and your hormones and your energy levels. So yeah, I mean, when you try to kind of do the individual, put in like, okay, I'm going to input DHEA here and see what it's way too complex. The cycles are way too complex. I want to address it from here, right? And allow those hormones to naturally regulate themselves, as opposed to just kind of injecting them in these little ways. I found a major benefit from this, and this I think is just really too, I don't know, at least for me, it's kind of too challenging, too complex for that to be a sustainable strategy.
Yeah, I mean, what I usually have people do is follow something like my 21-day leptin reset program or nutrition for the quantum nutrition program. I'm like, do either one of those. They're both synergistic for 60 to 90 days before you add in supplements, before you even do the blood work, really, because things are going to shift and change. And if you do want to do blood work, or if you do want to add supplements, you're probably going to need less of the supplements. The blood work's going to look entirely different if you utilize these things first, and if you do want to do a detox, which we cover that also in the course, because a lot of people are like, do I need to do this detox or that detox in order to, optimize my fertility? And we kind of work a little bit differently. We're like, let's optimize your redox potential first, and which is essentially improve your mitochondrial function, the communication in the mitochondria, so that if you do want to do that, it's actually not going to make you sick as heck. And you'll get a benefit from it, right?
Absolutely, right? Because the body needs energy, and what makes energy in the body? It's the mitochondria. If you optimize the mitochondria's ability to produce energy for you, it can actually detoxify things without necessarily needing a protocol. Even it can heal you. It can heal you at a better rate. It can do all these other things that it wasn't able to do before. Doesn't matter if you're pushing an herbal liver cleanse, right? If you don't have the capacity to actually take those nutrients and have them do what they need to do, you don't have the energetic capacity in the body. So we're excited. I mean, it's an exciting way to introduce people to this new way of thinking. And I think it's really empowering, right? It's empowering, it's freeing, and it's, a lot of these strategies are really actually very simple and inexpensive.
Definitely. And, just with the whole leptin thing, someone asked a little earlier, I'm sorry, I've missed like a bunch of the questions because I've just been so involved in the conversation. But when your leptin levels are regulated, your hunger is a lot more reliable, right?
Sure.
Because your body actually knows once that signaling is happening between the stored energy on your body and your brain because of leptin, you can rely on your hunger signals. You're not hungry all the time. You're not hungry all the time, right? Which is a problem that some people have no appetite, and then they have a huge appetite. And then, so yeah, that's one of the ancillary benefits of dealing with your leptin and becoming leptin sensitive is that you can actually, if you feel hungry, you can rely on that hunger. And we teach you within the course of what's kind of the optimal diet based on your level of leptin sensitivity, because everyone doesn't need to eat the same thing. Like you said, everyone doesn't need to do a keto diet necessarily. Everyone doesn't necessarily need to, do tons of carbs. We don't really recommend that for most people, but it's going to be different depending on your level of leptin sensitivity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So leptin is an energy sensing hormone, right? So when leptin can signal, it's not going to say, if leptin can signal and say, Carrie just ate this type of food and these nutrients, and she has this much body fat and this much sugar stored as glycogen. It's not going to be like, Carrie is starving, go get food, go get food, go get food. That's energetically wasteful if I don't need to. That's a survival threat to me to go find and hunt and gather food. And so it's going to really help to abate hunger then, to be like, oh, okay. And then maybe when I do get a signal, what I found actually now that my leptin, I feel like is really I'm very leptin sensitive. I get cravings for nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get food cravings, right? It's like, oh gosh, I'm really craving this. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's the magnesium in that, or that's that's all the B vitamins in that I'm really craving. And it's not about craving carbs or anything like that. It's about craving nutrients.
Exactly. The things that I eat now, it's not like some huge gourmet meal with all, you know, something. I don't take pictures of my food because it's not really pretty.
No, neither.
I'm not one of those people that post my meals on Instagram because it's not anything really to write home about. It's like,
no one wants to see my sardine can, right?
Right? It's like, here's your protein, there's your fat, you eat it, it's all good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Sarah, I'm so looking forward to this course, and I wish we could talk about leptin forever and all these other things. I have to roll.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hopping on my very first ever Twitter Spaces and chat, and so
okay.
Wish me luck.
Well, I'm going to run over to Twitter, and we're going to be doing some more live streams so we can talk about this more. But yeah, most people are very hyper-focused on insulin, and they don't talk about leptin. Leptin actually signals insulin, correct? And so it's kind of a zoom out, and what you do to fix insulin resistance may not necessarily fix leptin resistance. It's a bigger conversation. So we're definitely gonna be having more of these chats, and I don't want to make you late to your Twitter talk. So thank you for being here today, Carrie. It's good to talk.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
It's so great to see you. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.